What happens when the ocean's deadliest predator sets its sights on unsuspecting victims? Sharks are powerful creatures, and sometimes they unexpectedly target humans. These 6 stories show how quickly things can go wrong. During a rescue mission, a boat tour, or a relaxing beach day. From a terrifying shark attack on a coast guard to a surfer's tragic fate, these events remind us of the dangers that lurk in the ocean. Each story highlights the need for caution in shark habitats, as attacks can happen anytime. On January 5, 2025, a U.S. Coast Guard mission took a tragic turn near the warm waters of Key West, Florida. The Coast Guard, known for its bravery and dedication, responded to a distress signal from a small fishing vessel struggling to stay afloat. The vessel, caught in the sudden and fierce currents of the Florida Straits, required immediate assistance. The Coast Guard team was immediately dispatched, equipped with their standard rescue boat and life-saving equipment. The team comprised 6 members, all trained to handle emergencies in challenging conditions. Among them was Officer Michael Turner, a 32-year-old with 7 years of experience in the Coast Guard. Michael was respected for his calm demeanor and quick decision-making during rescues. Alongside him were seasoned officers and newer recruits, each ready to assist in the dangerous operation. They aimed to navigate the choppy waters, reach the stranded vessel, and bring everyone back to safety. The waters of Key West were known for their beauty, but hid unseen dangers. While sharks were uncommon in the area, encounters were rare during routine operations. The team had been briefed on potential risks, but had not faced any incidents of shark aggression in years. Their focus remained on the stranded vessel as they approached the location. The fishing boat, carrying 2 individuals, was spotted drifting with its engine disabled. The Coast Guard positioned their boat nearby, and Michael was tasked with deploying the lifeline to secure the vessel and prepare for the passenger transfer. As he entered the water, the rest of the team maintained watch, ensuring all steps went smoothly. However, the calm operation took a sudden and horrifying turn. Without warning, a massive 16-foot great white shark emerged from the depths. The shark, likely drawn by the commotion in the water, lunged at Michael. The shark's powerful jaws clamped down on his leg, inflicting severe injuries and pulling him underwater. Panic spread through the team as they realized what was happening. The other members of the Coast Guard reacted immediately. 2 officers threw flotation devices toward Michael while the others worked to maneuver the rescue boat closer. Michael fought to stay afloat, but the shark's bite had left him gravely injured. Blood stained the water around him as he struggled to free himself from the shark's grasp. The team used poles and ropes to scare the shark away, eventually forcing it to release Michael and retreat into the depths. The team quickly pulled Michael back onto the boat and administered first aid. The severity of his injuries was evident, and the team knew they had to act soon to save his life. The boat sped toward the nearest shore, radioing ahead for emergency medical support. Despite their training and efforts, the scene was chaotic, with every second feeling like an eternity. The attack had unfolded in minutes, leaving the Coast Guard shaken. The mission, meant to be a routine rescue, had turned into a fight for survival in the unpredictable waters of the Florida coast. The team raced back to shore as fast as their boat could, the engine roaring over the waves. Officer Michael Turner lay on the deck, his colleagues working frantically to stop the bleeding from his injured leg. The shark's bite had caused catastrophic damage, severing major arteries and muscle tissue. Despite their best efforts, his condition was deteriorating rapidly. The radio crackled with instructions from the medical team awaiting their arrival, urging them to keep pressure on the wound and monitor his vital signs. The journey to land felt agonizingly long. Every passing second weighed heavily on the team, who alternated between tending to Michael and maintaining the boat's course. When they finally reached the dock, paramedics were already waiting, ready to take over. Michael was quickly transferred to a stretcher and rushed to a nearby hospital, but the extent of his injuries proved too severe. He succumbed to blood loss shortly after arriving at the emergency room. The news of Michael's death spread quickly through the Coast Guard and beyond. His colleagues, who had witnessed the attack firsthand, were left in shock and grief. The loss of a team member during a mission was a devastating blow, made worse by the suddenness and violence of the event. Many replayed the incident, questioning what they could have done differently and struggling to accept the outcome. The tragedy also brought national attention to rescue workers' risks in unpredictable environments. The waters near Key West were popular for boating and fishing, but this incident highlighted the potential dangers lurking below the surface. The presence of the great white shark so close to a heavily trafficked area raised concerns about how such encounters could be prevented in the future. Experts speculated that the shark might have been drawn to the scene by the vibrations of the boat's engine or the activity in the water, mistaking it for prey. The Coast Guard immediately launched an internal review of their safety protocols. While shark attacks during missions were rare, the incident underscored the need for better training and equipment to handle such situations. Some suggested that rescue teams working in known shark habitats should carry specialized deterrent devices or wear protective gear to minimize the risk of injury. Others emphasized the importance of awareness and education for rescue workers and the public. Michael's death also sparked a broader conversation about human activity in marine environments. Conservationists reminded the public that sharks were a natural part of the ecosystem, and that attacks, while tragic, were often the result of misunderstandings rather than aggression. Still, many called for increased monitoring and research to understand shark behavior better, hoping to find ways to reduce the likelihood of future attacks. Michael's family, friends, and colleagues attended a memorial service in Key West. They remembered him as a dedicated officer who gave his life in the line of duty. His sacrifice symbolized the risks rescue workers face daily, inspiring efforts to ensure their safety while honoring their courage and commitment. On June 14, 2024, a group of tourists gathered at the Costa del Sol in Spain, eager to embark on a scenic boat tour along the Mediterranean coast. The warm summer sun shone brightly, reflecting off the clear blue waters as 12 boarded the small vessel operated by an experienced crew. Among the tourists was Dave, a 34-year-old wildlife enthusiast from the United Kingdom, who had been excited about the chance to see dolphins in their natural habitat. He had always loved the ocean and sought adventures that brought him closer to marine life. The boat departed from the marina, slicing gently through the calm waters. The tourists were a mix of families, couples, and solo travelers, all captivated by the beauty of the coastline. The local marine expert guide highlighted various landscape features and explained the importance of preserving the Mediterranean's fragile ecosystem. Carrying a small camera, Dave took pictures of the picturesque cliffs and sparkling waves, hoping to capture memories of the trip. The group noticed movement in the distance about an hour into the journey. A dark shadow moved under the water, drawing closer to their boat. The guide assured everyone it might be a pod of dolphins, sparking excitement among the tourists. They leaned over the railings, scanning the sea for signs of the graceful creatures. However, as the shadow neared, it became clear that it was not a dolphin. Instead, a massive great white shark surfaced, its dorsal fin slicing through the water ominously. The tourists were thrilled to see such a rare predator so close. Cameras clicked, and murmurs of amazement filled the air. The shark circled the boat, seemingly curious about its visitors. The guide maintained a calm demeanor and quietly instructed the crew to keep the ship steady and avoid sudden movements. Dave stood at the edge, his camera pointed directly at the shark, fascinated by its size and power. As the minutes passed, the shark's behavior changed. It began to swim closer to the boat, bumping its side with increasing force. The tourists grew uneasy as the vessel rocked slightly with each impact. Suddenly, the shark lunged at the ship, ramming violently, making the entire boat shudder. The impact echoed across the water, startling everyone on board. The crew scrambled to assess the damage, but before they could act, the shark struck again. The second hit was even more forceful, cracking the hull and tilting the boat. In the chaos, Dave lost his balance and was thrown overboard. Dave was flung into the water, splashing amidst the turmoil. Gasps of horror erupted from the other passengers as the crew desperately tried to throw a lifeline at him. The shark, now circling aggressively, turned its attention to Dave. The scene unfolded with terrifying speed, leaving the group frozen in shock. The moment Dave hit the water, panic spread across the boat. The tourists shouted in alarm, but their voices seemed distant against the sound of waves and the sharp splashes from Dave's frantic attempts to stay afloat. The crew moved swiftly, throwing a rope toward him, but the shark had already closed in. Its sleek body cut through the water with purpose, heading straight for Dave, who struggled to keep his head above the surface. The first attack happened in an instant. The shark lunged at Dave, its jaws clamping down on his leg. The bite caused severe injury, and the water around him turned red. The tourists on the boat looked on in horror, unable to tear their eyes away. The crew yelled instructions, but the chaos left little room for action. Dave tried to push away from the shark, his movements frantic. But the predator was too powerful. The crew pulled the boat closer, focusing entirely on getting Dave out of the water. One crew member leaned over with a hook to grab him, while another prepared to steer the vessel away once he was aboard. For a moment, they might succeed. Dave reached for the rope, his face pale and strained, but the shark returned before they could pull him to safety. This time, the great white shark attacked with greater force. It dragged Dave underwater, his body disappearing into the depths. The shark inflicted fatal wounds, and the water surface churned violently before going still. The crew and passengers were left in stunned silence. The calm sea, moments ago a source of beauty, now seemed ominous and cruel. The boat remained in place for several minutes as the crew searched the water for any sign of Dave. A floating piece of his camera was the only evidence of the tragedy that had just unfolded. The pale and shaken tourists sat silently as the guide tried to console them. Fear and disbelief lingered in the air, replacing the earlier excitement of their trip. Back at the marina, the authorities were alerted immediately. The incident quickly gained attention, spreading across local news and raising alarms about shark activity in the region. The boat was inspected for damage, its cracked hull bearing testimony to the shark's ferocity. Still reeling from the event, the passengers recounted the harrowing experience to officials. Dave's loss deeply affected everyone who witnessed it. The injuries and fatality had a lasting impact, leaving emotional scars on the survivors. Experts were called to investigate the shark's unusual behavior, and the incident sparked discussions about better safety measures for tourists in open water. Tour operators were pressured to enhance protocols and educate travelers about potential risks. The once idyllic boat tours of the Mediterranean were now viewed with caution. Dave's tragic end became a solemn reminder of the ocean's unpredictability. His family and fellow passengers carried the weight of the experience, forever marked by that day in June 2024. On June 18, 2024, a group of young adults gathered at a secluded beach along the rugged coastline of Big Sur, California. Known for its towering cliffs and serene beaches, the area was far from the busy tourist destinations nearby. The group of friends had chosen this spot for its isolation, wanting to escape the usual summer crowds. Among them was 22-year-old Alex, an adventurous and confident swimmer who loved the ocean. He often challenged himself with daring feats, earning him admiration among his peers. The group of 8 friends had planned the gathering for weeks. They arrived late afternoon, setting up a small bonfire and bringing snacks and music. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the group reveled in the beauty of the peaceful surroundings. The sound of the waves and the cool breeze added to the charm of their private beach party. As the evening progressed, the mood became more festive. Someone suggested a late-night swim, and the idea quickly gained enthusiasm. Alex was the first to wade into the water, urging the others to follow. His friends joined him one by one, laughing and splashing as they ventured deeper into the ocean. Unbeknownst to them, the disturbance in the water had attracted an uninvited guest. A great white shark patrolling the shoreline for food had been drawn to the commotion. Unaware of the lurking danger, the group continued to enjoy the water under the moonlight. Alex, as usual, swam further out than the rest, his confidence masking the growing risk. Then, the shark made its move. Silent and powerful, it closed the distance with alarming speed, targeting the source of the most movement. The attack happened in a flash. The shark bit into Alex's leg, dragging him under the surface. His sudden disappearance confused the group, who initially thought he was playing a prank. As seconds passed, their laughter turned into panic. Alex resurfaced briefly, shouting for help before the shark pulled him under again. The bite caused severe injuries, leaving the water stained with blood. Frozen with shock, Alex's friends began shouting and frantically scrambling to get back to shore. The shark, displaying unusually aggressive behavior, circled the group, its movements creating waves that heightened their fear. One friend tried to move closer to the spot where Alex had last been seen, but the sight of the shark's dorsal fin cutting through the water forced him to retreat in fear. The remaining group members made it to the safety of the shore, trembling and distraught. They could see no sign of Alex or the shark from the beach. The water, once calm, now bore evidence of the tragedy that had unfolded. A single flip-flop floated near the surface, a haunting reminder of what had just happened. The party had turned into a nightmare. Some friends called for help, their voices shaking as they relayed the events to emergency responders. Once a symbol of freedom, the isolated beach had become the site of unimaginable loss. The remaining group huddled on the beach, trembling and trying to process what had happened. The once lively atmosphere of their gathering was replaced with silence and fear. Emergency services were contacted immediately, but the beach's isolation meant it would take some time for help to arrive. As the minutes stretched, the group sat together, staring at the dark water that had taken their friend. After receiving the frantic call, the first responders, including local lifeguards and marine experts, arrived at the scene. The beach, which had felt so secluded and safe earlier, was now crowded with flashing lights and somber faces. Search efforts began immediately, with boats and divers entering the water to look for Alex. The rescue team hoped to recover his body, though they were fully aware of the risks posed by the shark that had attacked. Hours passed, and there was no sign of Alex or the shark. The search was called off for the night due to safety concerns, leaving the friends devastated and without closure. The authorities spoke to them, gathering details about the event. Their accounts vividly depicted the tragic attack and the shark's unusual behavior. Experts explained that while sharks are not naturally aggressive toward humans, certain conditions can provoke attacks, such as splashing or movement that resembles prey. The group members were offered medical attention and counseling, but the trauma of witnessing their friend's attack was etched deeply into their minds. Some were in tears. Others sat silently, staring at the waves as if hoping Alex would suddenly emerge. News of the incident quickly spread, drawing attention to the secluded beach and the circumstances of the attack. Shark experts and marine biologists arrived to study the area, hoping to determine why the shark had come so close to shore. Theories ranged from the presence of bait fish to environmental changes disrupting the shark's natural hunting grounds. Regardless of the cause, the incident highlighted the unpredictable dangers of the ocean, even in areas not known for shark activity. Local authorities organized community meetings to address concerns about the sudden shark presence and announced plans to install safety measures, such as better signage and monitoring equipment. The incident also forced authorities to shut down the area for weeks as experts studied why this isolated beach, far from typical shark zones, had become a hotspot. For the friends who had lost Alex, however, these steps felt too late to make a difference. A memorial was created near the beach in the following days to honor Alex. Family, friends, and even strangers who had heard about the tragedy left flowers, candles, and heartfelt messages at the site. The friends who had been with Alex that night visited the memorial together, finding solace in sharing their memories of him. The attack left a lasting impact on the community, starkly reminding people of the power of nature and the need for respect and caution in the ocean. Alex's story became a call for greater awareness, ensuring that others would take precautions to avoid similar tragedies. In September 2024, the waters off the coast of South Africa were calm and inviting. Renowned shark photographer Jake Turner and a skilled film crew were working on a groundbreaking documentary about marine life. The project focused on capturing great white sharks' majestic and often misunderstood behavior in their natural habitat. The team had chosen the waters near Gansbaai, a region famous for its dense population of great whites. For years, Jake had been at the forefront of shark photography, earning a reputation for his daring dives and ability to capture stunning underwater images. The team consisted of marine biologists, expert divers, and cinematographers. Each member was passionate about showcasing the beauty of marine predators while advocating for their conservation. The crew had been preparing for this sequence for weeks, rehearsing safety protocols and reviewing shark behavior. Jake was particularly excited. He believed the close-up shots he planned to take would help people appreciate these creatures as more than just fearsome predators. That morning, the group departed on a sturdy research vessel equipped with high-tech diving gear and cameras. The sun glinted off the ocean as the team reached the filming location. They anchored the boat near a known shark hotspot, carefully lowering their equipment into the water. The plan was simple. Jake would dive alongside the crew, capturing footage of the sharks as they swam in their natural rhythm. The others would support him, ensuring the shoot went smoothly. Once underwater, the divers were greeted by graceful great whites gliding through the clear blue waters. The crew moved methodically, careful not to disturb the sharks. Jake, however, ventured closer to a large great white that had appeared particularly curious. He signaled to the others to keep their distance while he framed the perfect shot. As Jake positioned himself, the shark's behavior began to change. It circled him slowly, its movements cautious yet deliberate. Jake, accustomed to such encounters, remained steady. He adjusted his camera, aiming to capture the moment the shark swam close. However, as he suddenly moved to change angles, the shark reacted unexpectedly. The great white lunged, biting Jake's leg with its powerful jaws. The sharp teeth tore through his wetsuit, causing severe injuries. The water around him turned crimson as the crew sprang into action. Jake's calm demeanor vanished as the pain surged through him. The shark, perhaps startled by its reaction, retreated into the depths. The team acted quickly, pulling Jake to the surface and hoisting him onto the boat. His leg was severely injured, with deep lacerations and significant blood loss. The crew members worked together to apply pressure to the wound while calling for emergency medical assistance. The incident was both shocking and tragic. Jake had spent years working with sharks, advocating for their protection and understanding. Yet this encounter was a stark reminder of the risks of entering their domain. The boat raced back to the nearest port as the crew worked tirelessly to stabilize Jake. His leg, though wrapped in makeshift bandages, continued to bleed heavily. Every minute felt like an eternity as they tried to control the situation. The team communicated with local emergency services, ensuring that medical personnel would be ready when they arrived on shore. Jake, known for his resilience, drifted in and out of consciousness, his face pale from blood loss. By the time they reached land, an ambulance was waiting. Paramedics quickly assessed the severity of the injury and transported Jake to the hospital. Despite their efforts, Jake's injuries were catastrophic. The extensive blood loss and damage to his leg were too severe to overcome. Hours after the attack, he succumbed to his injuries in the hospital. The news of his passing sent shockwaves through the team who had witnessed the attack unfold. The tragedy deeply affected marine photography and conservation. Jake had been a leading voice in promoting the beauty and importance of sharks. His images inspired countless people to see these creatures in a different light, far from the fearsome reputation that films and myths often portray. His death sparked conversations about the risks involved in filming and interacting with sharks. Even for those with years of experience, experts analyzed the incident in detail, focusing primarily on the shark's unusual reaction. While great white sharks are known for their curiosity, attacks during unprovoked situations are rare. Some marine biologists suggested that the increasing human presence in shark habitats might affect the animal's natural behaviors. Others theorized that changes in the local ecosystem, possibly caused by overfishing or warming ocean temperatures, might have influenced the shark's response. Though devastated, Jake's colleagues vowed to continue the project he had started. They believed it was the best way to honor his memory and legacy. The crew reviewed their safety protocols, seeking experts' advice on minimizing risks in future dives. Their determination to complete the documentary grew stronger, fueled by the belief that sharing Jake's final work would help the world better understand the creatures he had dedicated his life to protecting. The incident also led to increased awareness among conservation groups. Many called for stricter guidelines and training for divers working in shark habitats. Some argued that greater respect must be given to the boundaries between humans and marine life. The debate extended to local authorities, who began discussions about implementing new safety measures for researchers and filmmakers operating in areas with high shark activity. Jake's death left a void but sparked a renewed commitment to understanding and protecting marine ecosystems. His work symbolized courage and dedication, reminding the world that there is an opportunity to learn and grow despite loss. Though the tragedy marked the end of Jake's life, it catalyzed meaningful change in how humans approach the natural world. In August 2024, the sun had just begun to rise over Queensland's Gold Coast, painting the sky with hues of pink and orange. The calm ocean stretched for miles, providing the perfect setting for surfers who thrived on the thrill of riding waves. Among them was 17-year-old Tyler Jensen, a skilled and passionate surfer who had grown up in the coastal town of Coolangatta. Tyler was well known in the local surfing community and was admired for his fearless approach to the sport and dedication to mastering the waves. Tyler had spent countless hours at Snapper Rocks, a popular surfing spot in the area, honing his skills and connecting with the ocean. His love for the water began early, inspired by his father, an avid surfer. He competed in local surfing contests and dreamed of making it to the professional circuit. Tyler paddled out into the open water this morning before the beach became crowded. The waves were strong, and the conditions seemed ideal for an exhilarating session. A small group of surfers joined him, their boards cutting through the water as they awaited the next set of waves. Tyler positioned himself, scanning the horizon with a confident smile as he prepared for another ride. As he caught a wave, the rush of adrenaline coursed through him. The sea felt alive beneath his board and he moved gracefully, his body in perfect harmony with the ocean's rhythm. But beneath the surface, something far less serene was taking place. A great white shark nearly 12 feet long lurked in the depths, drawn by the movement and splashing above. The shark surged upward without warning, its powerful jaws clamping onto Tyler's leg. The force of the attack pulled him off his board and into the water, leaving a trail of red as the ocean churned around him. Fellow surfers, alarmed by the sudden chaos, turned toward the scene, their faces etched with fear. Tyler fought against the shark's grip, his instincts driving him to kick and push with all his strength. The nearby surfers shouted for help, some paddling closer to rescue him, but the shark's aggression was relentless, and it returned for a second strike, making the waters perilous for anyone who approached. A small fishing boat in the vicinity sped toward the commotion, its crew determined to intervene. They threw a lifeline into the water and tried to reach Tyler. Despite their efforts to pull him aboard, the severity of his injuries and the shark's repeated attacks made it impossible to save him in time. The scene unfolded rapidly, leaving everyone on the water in shock and disbelief. As the boat retreated with the other surfers, the once vibrant morning had turned somber, and the waves carried the weight of an unimaginable loss. The tragic events of that morning sent shockwaves through the tight-knit surfing community of Queensland. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, news of the attack spread rapidly. The beach was soon closed off by local authorities, with warning signs at every entry point. Lifeguards patrolled the area, ensuring no one entered the water while the investigation began. Marine biologists were called to examine the site of the attack, studying whether any environmental changes could have led to the shark's behavior. Experts suggested that the unusually warm water temperatures and increased bait fish near the shore might have drawn the shark closer to the beach. These factors, combined with the splashing and movement of surfers, may have triggered the great white's predatory instincts. Overwhelmed by the loss, Tyler's family received an outpouring of support from the local community. They were devastated, but determined to honor their son's memory. His parents spoke about his love for the ocean and his passion for surfing. The young surfer's death became a somber reminder of the risks of embracing the sea's beauty. In the days following the incident, the local government worked closely with marine conservation groups to address the rising concerns about shark activity along Australia's coastline. A series of measures were introduced to improve beach safety, including installing additional shark nets and using drones to monitor the waters from above. Patrol boats equipped with sonar devices were also deployed, providing early warnings of large marine animals in the area. Surfers and beachgoers were urged to take precautions, such as avoiding the water during early mornings or late evenings when sharks are more active. Educational campaigns were launched to teach people how to identify warning signs of shark presence and reduce the chances of an encounter. Tyler's friends, who had been at the beach that morning, struggled to cope with the loss. A week later, they gathered at Snapper Rocks to pay tribute to him, creating a small memorial with flowers, candles, and handwritten messages. The community then came together to hold a paddle-out ceremony, a tradition among surfers to honor those who have passed away. Meanwhile, scientists began studying whether the incident was part of a larger trend in shark behavior. Some researchers believe that the increasing interaction between humans and marine life, due to activities like surfing and fishing, might be causing sharks to become more territorial. This theory sparked debates among experts, with some advocating for stricter protection of marine habitats to prevent such conflicts. As time passed, the beach reopened with heightened safety measures. However, the memory of the attack lingered, a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of the ocean. Tyler's story symbolized both the thrill and the danger of embracing the wild beauty of the sea. His untimely death left a lasting impact on the community, inspiring efforts to ensure that others could enjoy the ocean safely. In October 2024, Rachel Thompson, a 33-year-old outdoor enthusiast, was kayaking with a close friend off the coast of South Carolina. Rachel and her friend, experienced kayakers, had been looking forward to a day of adventure along the scenic coastline. They explored the waters near Hilton Head Island, known for its beautiful shorelines and wildlife. The weather was calm early, making for ideal kayaking conditions. As they paddled farther from shore, they were excited to enjoy the serenity of the water. Unaware of the danger that loomed beneath the surface, Rachel had always been passionate about outdoor activities. She enjoyed being close to nature, especially in the water, and had spent years kayaking in various regions. Her friend, a fellow outdoor enthusiast, shared her love for adventure, and they often spent weekends exploring different places together. They had kayaked in many other spots along the East Coast. But this trip to South Carolina was special. The waters of the Atlantic were known to be home to various marine creatures, but neither of them had ever felt unsafe. They were experienced and learned how to handle the occasional rough wave or changing weather conditions. However, as the two kayaks drifted further out, a sudden change in the water's current made things more challenging. The waves grew bigger, and before they could react, their kayaks capsized, throwing them into the cold Atlantic Ocean. The rough waters made it difficult to stay afloat. Rachel and her friend tried to stay calm as they struggled to keep their heads above water. The water around them began to churn as they fought to regain control of their kayaks. A great white shark surfaced near them, lured by the splashing and commotion. The shark, a large and powerful predator, moved quickly through the water. In a sudden and terrifying moment, the shark attacked Rachel's friend. With a forceful bite, the shark clamped down on her friend's leg, dragging them deeper into the water. In a state of panic and determination, Rachel acted quickly to help. She reached out to her friend, desperately trying to pull them away from the shark. But the shark wasn't done. It attacked again, this time turning its attention to Rachel. Despite the terrifying ordeal, Rachel fought to stay afloat, pushing her friend back onto one of the kayaks. She knew she had to get them to safety, but the shark's attacks made every movement feel like a struggle against time. With her injuries from the shark's attack, Rachel used all her strength to paddle the kayaks back toward the shore. Her friend, gravely wounded, couldn't hold on. Rachel knew there was little time left. Despite her best efforts, Rachel's friend did not survive the attack. Although injured, Rachel managed to get herself back onto her kayak and return to shore. Rachel's struggle to get back to shore was nothing short of miraculous. Despite her wounds, the adrenaline coursing through her body kept her focused. She could feel the pain from the shark's bite, but it was nothing compared to the horror of losing her friend. The effort it took to maneuver the kayaks, one damaged and barely afloat, was exhausting. Each stroke took more energy than the last, but she kept pushing herself. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Rachel reached the shore. Her body was aching, her arms and legs trembling from the physical strain, but she had made it. She was safe. But the reality of what had just happened was sinking in. Her friend, the person she had been kayaking with, was gone. The shock of the attack, the struggle to survive, and the heartbreak of losing someone so close to her were overwhelming. Emergency services were called immediately. As Rachel was helped out of the water, she could barely comprehend the situation. She was taken to the hospital, where doctors treated her for the injuries sustained during the attack. The bite marks on her leg were severe, and though she would recover physically, the emotional scars of that day would stay with her forever. Rachel's friend, however, was not so fortunate. Despite the heroic efforts to get them both to safety, the attack had been too much for her friend to survive. It was a devastating loss, and Rachel was left to process the grief of losing someone who had been such an important part of her life. The trauma of the attack and the loss of her friend shook Rachel to her core. In the aftermath, local authorities issued warnings about shark activity along the coast of South Carolina. Although the area where the attack occurred was known to be a shark habitat, the encounter was so close to the shore that it shocked many locals. Experts began to study the attack, trying to understand why the shark had been so aggressive, and what factors could have led to such a rare and tragic event. The incident sparked a wider conversation about the risks of kayaking in areas with known shark populations. It also raised awareness about the need for caution and preparation when venturing into the ocean, especially in active shark-infested regions. Though filled with pain and loss, Rachel's story also highlighted her bravery. She had done everything she could to save her friend, and despite the tragedy, she survived. The community around her rallied in support, offering comfort during her recovery. But the memory of that terrifying day would remain with her for the rest of her life. After the attack, Rachel and local authorities turned their focus toward preventing similar tragedies in the future. They launched campaigns emphasizing the importance of respecting the ocean as a powerful, untamed force, and educating the community about its hidden dangers. Safety workshops, public discussions, and new signage were introduced to promote awareness and caution among beachgoers. Still grappling with her grief, Rachel became a vocal advocate for understanding and coexisting with the unpredictable creatures that inhabit the sea. Her tragic experience was a stark reminder of the ocean's wild nature, a realm of breathtaking beauty and immense danger. In honoring her friend's memory, Rachel hoped her efforts would save lives and deepen people's respect for the natural world.